Okay. Alright, so this is going to be a video. Well, I'll explain it. So, this is going to be a video for a single player Hammerdin on a budget. I've been doing this a while, so I have the good gear, the blah blah blah, all that. Um, but it's currently certain my videos might not be practical guides because it takes a long time to get this gear. And so I'm going to start this one off at a more basic level. So if you want a hell viable Hammerdin capable of magic finding in hell mode, this is the setup that I would recommend. That is, I think, pretty doable, and it's the one that I ran for a long time, or it's pretty similar to the one that I ran for a long time. Before I got Enigma and all those other good things. So let's just start off with Hammerdins in general. We all know the skills. The only difference for the single player Hammerdin, actually it might not be different for Hammerdins in general, but it used to be that the second wave in the Bale runs was not immune to hammers. Nowadays they are. So the way I handle that is I put points in the Holy Bolt and only a few in the Holy Shield. It's kind of up to you the balance you want. I believe my Holy Bolt damage is not affected by concentrating. About 2k. Yeah, I tried to get it up to about 2k. And when I do it, I just click it. I don't even hotkey it. All the rest of the skills are the same. So let's go over the gear. So Whiz Spike, forget about the ist. You might get that eventually. I got that from my Hell Forge, so I threw it in there. Whiz Spike is probably, first of all, it's very easy to find. I found a ton of these, especially in Act 1 Hell mode. There are a bunch of them. So the reason you want this, you may think that I would run a Hodo, but even on my tweaked gear, I use a Wizard Spike. And the reason is mana. In single player, your Merc you can't make an insight. It's a ladder rune word. So what I do is I do a Hone Sudan for the crushing blow on my Merc. So you really need the mana. And so that's number one. Number two is resistances. 75 all res. It's crazy good. It's really unbelievable. It negates the entire hell mode. If you get your 3 Anya quests, you'll start off at -70 res on hell mode. This negates that and gives you 5 more to boot. So that's great. Mage Fist, again, this is kind of best in slot no matter what. I've seen Hammerdins use Trangules because of the cold res. That would be a mistake. You need the mana regen big time. And then a Ravenfrost. I would recommend this. Obviously, you don't use the attack rating or cold damage, but first of all, so you get the stats and the mana, which is nice. So it saves you on some decks getting the max block, and also gives you a little bit of mana, which is good. But the Canopy Frozen, okay, so that's useful, especially if you don't have Enigma. How you're going to get around is Thrown on Vigor and running. Okay, so having Canopy Frozen is pretty useful for that. The belt, what I would recommend is Gloom's Trap. It's kind of up to you. You may want a Tails Belt. That's a great option as well. Gives some mana, saves on decks. It's almost like a Ravenfrost. And you get some Magic Find. This is a crappy one, but I just have it around. But Gloom's Trap is nice. It's kind of up to you. Gloom's Trap is nice for the mana and the life, actually, but the mana regen and increase maximum mana. So that's pretty nice. See how much. Am I crazy? Wow, I guess it doesn't add. I guess increasing my maximum mana adds right about 30 mana. That's pretty funny. Okay, but the mana regen will still be better than a Tails. But it's up to you. Then you need a in either one of these slots, the amulet or the ring, you'll need a 10 faster cast rate ring. This is actually a pretty nice one. It has all res and 10 faster cast rate is nice. Yeah, let's just go to the amulet. I have a Saros Hymn. This is my quote-unquote budget amulet. You know, I do have a Maris in here in my own use, but I had a Saros for a long time. I had found one. They're you know, you might not find one. You might. They're not a particularly useful amulet. But you know, anything can go here. Especially if you have a 10 cast rate ring. Anything, you know. You know, what's it? What's that Sasabi said? I don't know. But any skill amulet. It could be a rare that gives combat, or a magic that gives combat skills, or whatever. So just anything can go there. Okay, the boots. I have war traps here. Obviously, these are like perfect mf. I would consider these budget because it's not super hard to find. You know, you could get these from Nightmare Mephisto or like whatever, from a lot of different places. And these are kind of what you want, especially, I mean, you're magic finding. That's the whole point of this build. But what I did use before I had these, it actually did take me a while. So what I would also recommend is Tear Haunch. +2 vigor, some stats, all resistance. Pretty nice, especially if you can't. Tear Haunch is especially good if you need some all res. Okay, the shield. Here you have a lot of options too. So I think a sanctuary would be good. It's maybe a little expensive. If you don't have sanctuary, don't worry about it. Use a rhyme. And if you use a rhyme, you could also get rid of your Ravenfrost, because a rhyme has Canopy Frozen. You could put something else here, and you have a little more room to maneuver. But sanctuary is good because it has huge resistance and block rate, and that's all you need from your shield. Alternatives, you could do like a Splendor, in which case I think that has faster cast rate, and you wouldn't need faster cast rate on any of your rings on your jewelry. So there's room to play around. I think for a long time I had a man, what did I have? Actually, you know what? On this character, I was actually lucky. I found a Haas before I started it. I found two Haases like back to back on 2 different days from Nightmare Mephisto. I was trying to search for Titans, and I found 2 Haases before I got 1 Titans, which is like, yeah. Anyway, very rare. But this would be my recommendation, or a rhyme, or a Splendor, or a random like plus skills pally shield. And then the helm, budget. Peasant Crown. Honestly, super good helm. All res, run walk, like I said, you can be running everywhere, life, mana, and replenish life, which is nice too. If you are magic finding in hell for any considerable amount of time, you will use a Shaco. You will find Shaco eventually. They're not that rare. But just to be like the budgety of the budget Peasant Crown, it's a perfectly good endgame helm. And then the armor. This might be the most controversial choice. What I would recommend is GA plate. Alright, and I would do this for a couple of reasons. First of all, I assume, because on single player, you're not going to be able to make a spirit shield, which is one reason why I would have Sanctuary. So hitting the 125 FCR breakpoint is like probably really hard, maybe impossible. I mean, if you had... This would get you up to 70. If you had 10 FCR on all 3 of your jewelries, that would get you only up to 100. And then, if you did that, I mean, just how are you going to get it? You know, so some people would use a Viper Magi, and that's okay. But so why I would recommend is, first of all, there's the skill level. Second of all, block. So it saves you some point on Dex, actually. And then the big thing is the maximum res. So if you have a Whiz Spike and a high res shield, you'll get 90 all res. Again, the shield, you know, maybe you don't have that. You have this. Get some Tear Haunch, some random res charms, and a pretty decent rhyme. And you should probably still, and maybe you have to put like and an all res jewel that you find in your GA plate or your helm. you know, one of those things. But you should be able to get up to 90 resistance if you have the whiz spike. It shouldn't be terribly difficult, especially with you know, the options available to you for your shield. And the high defense on a GA blade. I mean, you could up a Viper, but you know, forget about all that. So I think this is a super nice armor. The only thing that's bad about it is it's super heavy, so you kind of run slow. But you know, you have vigor. Like, how fast do you need to run? So that would be my budget build. That would be what I recommend. And so the reason these are blank is because I have 2 combat GCs I usually put there, and that doesn't scream budget to me. And then what I have is I just stock up with, you know, I have some random like life charms and stuff, but like I just stock up on like magic find, like as much magic find as you can, because especially on your budget gear, it's a little hard to beef up your magic find. Actually, you know what? All in all, I'd probably recommend a rhyme over Sanctuary, but I didn't have one lying around for the purposes of this video. Okay, so so that would be the budget build I would run, and you know, you would just literally like, you can like maybe want to charge. You can charge around is probably what you should do. Like if you spec. Oh, and the other thing. Alright, so on Switch, if you can find it, which is not too hard to find, get a Naja's Puzzler. Alright, so this is super convenient for a lot of times. You know, just switch, have it right there, teleport. That'll save you a lot of time on certain things. For instance, like look at my Crystalline Passage map. So I don't want to run all the way up around here. So you go like that, you know. So you'll run into situations like that where it's just super convenient to have some teleport charges on your Switch, and also things like the River of Flame. So you find, and you don't want to run all the way up. So you just teleport, and I believe if you use like an Ort rune and a chipped gem, you can repair charges all the way. But so you know, the repair cost should not be too hard because you'll be picking up a lot of gold. You're magic finding. You're doing all that. So yeah, this would be my budget setup. And again, there's a lot of leeway in here. Hammerdins are probably, you know, if you wanted to be like ultra cheap, maybe what you want to do is get like some sort of a blizz sorc up and running, and then just like cheese kill like Mephisto a lot. But eventually, if I were you, to me that is not like really viable for like doing the kind of magic finding in hell mode that I like to do. So what I run, and what I used to run, is I would do Frigid Highlands, Travancore. I would do all the dungeons in Crystalline Passage, Glacial Trail, and Ancient's Way. I would run Bale, Diablo, and Mephisto. Probably not in Dariel if you're running around. And it depends on your maps. Like if you have a crappy, like I have a pretty crappy meth map. So I would like not run this if I had to run around. Because I have Enigma, I actually do run it. But yeah, so especially if you want to find like high runes so you can one day make an Enigma, I found most of my high runes in Act 5. Especially these dungeons. The reason I do the dungeons is because they spawn, and the reason you want high res is because they spawn souls and ghosts, which have a much higher chance of dropping runes than other types of monsters. Also the World Stone, I found a bunch of runes there. I found like a couple in Chaos, a couple in from cows. Anyway, I'm gonna make a magic finding video actually, so I can get all this out. But this would be my budget build. All right, so hopefully that's useful for someone out there. All right, see you later.